Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to second episode of the Full Time Reds podcast. I've got the Gunene brothers, Lihle and Sihle Gunene. How you feeling, guys?
Good. But
It's
obviously
it's a bit of a flat mood today because of the results. We're not
we
a
don't
lot
we're
to
not,
talk about.
Yeah, we're not very upbeat, but I'm sure we're gonna start the discussion and
Yeah.
talk about the first three games of the season. But
Yeah.
yeah, so far not so good.
Before I kick it off, what are your guys like reflections, thoughts on what you got from the first episode? Briefly, 1 minute. I won't be too long, but how do you feel from moving from the first episode and seeing yourself on camera, seeing the comments? What is going through your head when you saw yourself in that episode?
Personally, pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
We had some positive feedback and some other interesting feedback.
Yeah.
We got a bit of traction and engagement, which is what we were hoping for. So very happy and honored to be part of the process. And we also thank everybody that has been engaging with us in all social media platforms.
Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you. The comments have been amazing. We will have a segment on social media towards the end. The big one for today, obviously, is the games recap. Sihle, how do you feel since you saw the first episode?
Excited. I think it wanted me to do more of these episodes because I think it's something that we're all passionate about. So I think it's coming from a good place, and it was also nice to see people engaging and also excited about what we've started. So I think long may it continue.
Yeah, no, thank you. I feel the very same way. We can touch on it towards the end, right?
Yeah.
Because there were some funny comments.
Yeah, very.
Gentlemen, game one, United. We had Fulham 1-0 loss. Second game, we had Brighton.
So the 1-0 for the Fulham, that was a win.
We won that one,
Yeah.
And then we had Brighton where we lost 2-1.
Yes.
And then we had Liverpool where we
Where
lost.
we got smashed.
3-0.
we got
As you can
smashed
feel the
3-0.
mood in the studio right now.
Yeah, it starts. It's
somber.
very somber.
It's a somber
Yeah,
mood.
It's a very somber mood, but we'll be fine. And then we have a game today
Yeah.
against Southampton. What's today's date?
Today.
Saturday, the 14th.
Yes.
Game
So
is-
we are shooting Saturday the 14th, the game against Southampton, which
It's
we're
gonna
also
kick
going
off
to
in
discuss.
less than an hour.
And maybe
less
we
than
can
an hour.
also touch on Crystal Palace as well. So a lot to discuss today. First game, Fulham. What are you guys' thoughts? Opening of the season. But yeah, we want us to just get cracking,
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, Sisha?
I think it was promising. We showed promise in that game because I think in the main we didn't play too well.
Yeah.
But although there were signs of what was to come because the Fulham had a lot of one-on-one chances to score.
Yeah.
But we got lucky because it didn't have the quality. And that came in the Liverpool game, which we'll discuss.
Yeah.
But I think there was promise about how we are setting up and how we're going to play. But then I think coming into the second game, then it was a different story.
What was promising? Where did we get it wrong?
I think what was promising is I could see the pressing has improved, how we press the opposition, how many times we were winning the ball in the opposition half. The problem was the finishing in the Fulham game because we created a lot of chances, couldn't score. So 1-0 was actually a flattering scoreline for Fulham because I think we should have scored way more goals in that game. But although I think the issues we're having at the moment, or for that game in particular, was the build-up. So when Onana has the ball, he takes too long to find his next pass, and it recycles among the defenders a long time.
The new game model says what? Build from the back.
Yeah, play from the back, but be efficient at it. At the moment, I think that's where Ten Hag will need to look into that. We spend time passing around the back, and the opposition organizes themselves. We don't get the ball to the forwards quick enough. So that's the negative from the Fulham game. Positive was the pressing was good. The playing out of the back still needs work. And then the gaps in midfield as well was an issue because that exposed the defense into one-on-one situations.
I think
that's my main
just to
concern.
touch on the pressing thing. He's right. The pressing was very much improved from the previous season, right? But that has to do with Mason Mount because he
Yeah,
was
he's a
playing Mason
pressing
Mount.
machine, yeah.
He was playing Bruno Fernandes in the false 9. Mason Mount is a 10. So he had the legs to actually press from the front because Bruno, that's what he likes to do, right? But the problem with what we do, right? If you've got Mason Mount and Bruno Fernandes so high up, you've got only Mainu, who's a ball playing midfielder that is set in midfield. That's why the issue that he's talking about, that we can't transition from defense to attack quick enough, is because the players that are supposed to receive the ball, they are higher up the pitch. So if Bruno's high up the pitch, he also makes the midfield to suffer, because when you think about it, Bruno does good work in the opposition
final third,
in the
yeah.
final third, but he's not really helping much in midfield, and that's why our midfield is overrun. Hence Liverpool, which we will talk about.
So before we get there, there's a lot of details, right? What is this obsession with pressing? Why do we have to go the pressing route?
Because it's the
Why
modern
can't-
game. The modern game is not played like 20 years ago, where everyone had a lot of time on the ball. Now, the modern game is you can score a lot of goals, especially if you look at Liverpool's club, by winning the ball in the opposition half, because that's why now that style of play was invented, that if you press your opposition, you force them into mistakes, and you don't allow them to get into the rhythm. So if you look at, for example, the City Liverpool game at Anfield last year, City couldn't kick a ball. Why? Because Liverpool were on them like a rash from the first minute till the last. So pressing is important in the modern game because you force your opposition into mistakes, and you also allow them not to get into any rhythm.
Yeah, but
in
not,
their-
not,
in
not
their
only
play.
not about rhythm, yes, but it's a game of numbers. Because when you're pressing the ball so high, what you want to do is you want to have
Overload,
more of your players.
In
You
their
want to
box.
outnumber the opposition. So they don't get to have a chance to reposition themselves correctly. So the opposition is out of position. And the second part is that you've outnumbered them, because you can find yourself in a 3v2 situation or a 4v3 situation. Then it's easier for you to, your chances of scoring a goal is very high.
But-
So that's why this pressing thing started, and that's why it's very effective, because when you play from the back, slow build up, long ball, your chances of scoring a goal are lesser.
You'll rely on
versus-
set pieces.
Yeah, are
more than
lesser versus
open play.
open play.
Fine. I agree. Okay, cool. That's the modern game. And I also feel, in terms of us discussing playing out from the back, modern game, that also is suited to the players that you have. So when you are a manager has to decide, with the tools that I've got, what philosophy am I going to play outside of the modern game. So, for example, when you look at a low table team, a Brighton, a Brentford, or teams that don't have the luxury to play the pressing football. Why? Because they don't have the players. So
No,
the only thing I want to say is, I think sometimes in analysis of football, we get lost in, or get stuck in, what is the modern game, right? And I think two have to work hand in hand. Modern game and what I've got. And now this ties into what I want to say in terms of, based on the tools that we have, the pressing game, do you think it's working for us? Can we do that? Do we have the tools to play that modern game, playing out from the back? All I'm saying is, how you I think it's also very important as a manager to have your own unique identity, because the modern game had evolved because of Klopp's identity of, I play football of, I want to press, therefore I need these players. But the players was also coupled with budget, coupled with affordability, coupled with the support that you need from management as well. So that's just the point I want to make.
Just
Right.
to answer that question, pressing is not a technical quality. So it's not like you need to be the best player in the world to do that. It relies on more on athleticism. So can you run? And can you run for a long period of time? So, and obviously the tactical instruction that the manager tells you, that these are the pressing triggers. When the opposition have the ball in this space, or this player has an opposition, you
Or
press
they
it,
have
or-
their backs turned.
Exactly. So that's a tactical.
It also works
and-
as a system though
Yeah,
as well.
but-
Because
but all I'm saying
if it's
is-
not happening systematically, where if we're pressing in front and maybe a midfield is out of position or a defender is out of position, it messes up. So I do agree with you that it's not just one player thing. There's also a lot happening that has to happen if we're shifting, because there's pressing, there's cover, and then there's the balance element of the game. So yes, you fine. Yes, technically the player must understand that. But what about a Maguire that can't read that situation? So all I'm saying is there's a level of intelligence that is required to read that game from defense. You know what I mean? It's always the second, the third ball that you're also worried about, not just about the fact that it's not only what's happening where the ball is, it's also what's happening when we don't have the ball, the movement behind the ball.
but
Are you
I
in the
think-
right position in the event where I press, they're passing the ball to the right? Is the second person ready to press? And obviously, but I agree with you. The only point that I want to drive home is that this obsession of this is the modern game must be supported by what are the players that I have. And that's why bottom half, your Big Sam Allardyce, who's the ginger guy? I forgot his name. Sean Dyche. They've accepted that with the players that I have, this is how we're going to play. There's no pressing. There's we just want to survive. So I know we've got a little bit more luxury to do that. I do believe if we can play the pressing game, but I still don't see Ten Hag's identity. I still don't see what is the Ten Hag. I saw it with the Liverpool game, which we'll touch on. Uslot showed me that. I can see that actually this guy, he's got a way of playing. And yes, we all normally see it with new managers, and then after some time, it slowly fizzles out because now other teams are starting to catch, But anyway, we're still on the Fulham game. I don't know if there's anything else that we'd like to touch on. That's just the point that I wanted to drive home.
No, but just a last final thought on that.
Yeah.
I think how you need to look at how you set up as a team is, what are the best teams in the world doing? How are they playing?
100%.
Then you model yourself on that. 20 years ago, it was Mourinho, park the bus, counter-attack. Football is not like that anymore.
Yeah.
The best teams in the world, they press high up the pitch, they control games. So I think Ten Hag wants to do that, but his execution, which we'll talk about, is not working.
I think my final thoughts on Ivan said about the Fulham game. I agree with Sikle's sentiments, right? I think we didn't play a bad game. It wasn't a perfect game, but I feel like within United supporters right now, we've got this negative vibe that we can't praise anything that we're doing right. I just felt,
I love that point.
I just felt the first game of the season, other players are coming back from the European Championship. It's not obviously an ideal start, and Ten Hag did allude to the fact that we are not ready. And I understood what he meant. He didn't mean like we can't play the game against Fulham, but we're not at the level that I would like the team to be at. But anyway, that's a separate point. But in terms of the performance of the team, I think, as Sikle said, the 1-0 defeat that Fulham was handed flattered them. They should have lost 4-5-0 if the finishing was immaculate, if the finishing was on point, which is a problem, by the way, because we don't have a striker, because the strikers that we've signed, Højlund, Zirkzee, I don't think they are goal scorers. So I'm going to put that out right now. They are not goal scorers. They're not guys who are going to get you 20, 25 goals in a season.
You can't call it out in the beginning, Bafo. You can't rule out.
No, they're not going to get you that.
That
is the fact. They're not going to get you that, which is a problem.
But I said
because the season has started. Sikle said before, when we were off camera, that Erling Haaland has scored more goals than we've scored as a team.
But I heard
already.
I heard rumors that Højlund is the younger version of Haaland. That's what I heard. He's Austrian.
No. He's Norwegian as well, but he's
Norwegian.
Danish. Sorry, he's Danish. Yeah. And then Haaland is Norwegian.
I think that was the only comparison, is that they both Scandinavian.
Yeah, we signed the next Haaland as well. Look who's coming. You know, which I agree with you. I think who scored the 1-0 game? That we won against Fulham.
Yeah, Zirkzee scored. He came from halftime.
Can we have a little bit of a little bit of the players, like in terms of starting lineup? I know you've got a lot to say about Ten Hag as well, which I think I love that. I would love to hear that. His approach to that game, what would you say? And also his approach, also based on the players that he chose to start on that. I think we can also run on the Fulham game. Also, Ten Hag.
Okay.
And also so basically Ten Hag, the players that he chose to start that game, from striker, midfield, all the way to the defenders. and goalkeeper, obviously, and then the
Yeah.
subs that he's also made. What are you guys' thoughts on that? We can start with just
So I think I didn't have too much of an issue with the starting 11. So like he explained, the false nines, Menu, Casemiro, the fullback Mazraoui,
okay.
and obviously Shaw's not being
Xerxes
available.
started that game. Huh?
No,
he
no,
didn't
Xerxes
start the
didn't
game.
start.
So
It was
let's just
Mount
go it
and
down. Who
Bruno.
started? We had.
So the people that started, we had Maguire started that game.
Can we go from striker all the way to
Okay,
defense?
so striker, it was Bruno Fernandes who played the false nine.
yeah.
Which I don't
It
like.
was Mason Mount in the 10 position.
Okay.
It was Ahmad on the
Right.
right winger.
Mm.
Left winger was Rashford.
Yes.
And then it was Casemiro and Menu at the pivot, double pivot.
Yeah.
And then it was Maguire and Lisandro Martinez as the centre half pairings.
Yeah.
And then you had Mazraoui on right back. You had Dalo on left back.
Okay.
That was the team.
And
And
then
Onana,
had goal,
obviously.
yeah.
Onana and goals. There. Okay.
So yeah, no issues.
We'll
with
touch on the subs.
Yeah.
with the starting 11 from my point of view, because Xerxes wasn't fit enough to start. Hoyland is not there, so there's no strikers. So he had to go with Bruno as a false nine and Mount. So basically, actually, it was a variant of a 4-4-2. So he was playing Mount and Bruno. They were pressing in a 4-4-2 formation. So which is dangerous if you press in a
Because
4-4-2,
you're leaving a
'cause
hole at the back.
That's where the gaps are coming
Yeah,
from. So
yeah.
I'm just hoping that Ten Hag is seeing what we are seeing,
Mm.
because he's paid the big bucks to see these things.
I think Lems, Ten Hag is playing high risk, high reward. That's what he wants to do, right? Which I get, right? But as you said, what about the quality of the football players you have, right? Because I think if you have a number 6 who's a bit more athletic than Casemiro, who's probably
We signed
better on
Ugarte for that. yeah.
Ugarte, I understand, but that's yet to be seen. He's not proven yet. So you want a number
a
6.
no from-
It's you want a number 6 that is very good because
can run, that
we'll
can
talk-
cover
but
ground.
that can cover ground,
and
right?
Casemiro can't
That's
do that.
that's press resistant, and Casemiro is not press resistant. As soon as they
Makes a lot
press
of
him,
mistakes
we
now.
saw at Liverpool, they pressed him. He didn't. He thought he has the time. He doesn't have the time. As soon as he's received the ball, someone is on top of him,
But let's take it to
and that
Fulham.
led to goal. But
Yeah.
anyway, the point that Sikle is making is that he's not. He doesn't have an issue with the team. I also didn't have an issue with the team. That's the same team I would have started. Maybe I would have started the
Garnacho.
Delict, maybe, or Garnacho instead of Rashford on the left, because we'll get to Rashford, because I don't think he should be
And De Ligt was
nowhere
fit,
near
right?
the
What
team.
was
No,
the
no,
issue?
So
Delict
Delict was
wasn't there
not
yet.
100%. No,
He
he was
wasn't-
there. He was on the bench.
He was on the bench. yeah.
No, Delict was on the bench on the Brighton game.
Brighton game.
Yeah, he wasn't
okay,
signed
they
yet.
were just no.
He
they
was
were
announced, but yeah, he wasn't. I don't. No, he was
he
on the
was
bench.
there.
He
He was
on
there
the
because
bench.
Masraoui started
Yeah,
the game.
he
He
was
was
on the
there.
bench.
He was there.
Mhm.
But
On the
but
bench.
but
Came in the
my
second
my
half.
my point is that I don't have a problem with Ten Hag's style of play in terms of what he's trying to achieve.
Yeah.
We haven't seen the execution. At the start of the episode, you said, what is Ten Hag's style of play? Because you don't understand what he's trying to do. And I get
The
you.
only thing I see
The
is
last
just
on
pressing.
on the first
but-
episode, I said
Yeah.
he's trying to use wide players, quick players, fast players to make sure that he
pins the
counters the opposition. It's called counter pressing.
Yeah.
That's what he wants to do. Do you have the quality to do that? That's something else. That's a
Do you have
different.
the quality?
Yeah, that's a different proposition. But I get what he's trying to do. I just feel Ugarte coming in will be important should he work, because he will give the mobility that Casemiro doesn't have.
How old is Ogate?
23.
23, yeah.
Okay.
So that's what I like about the signings, is that the age
Young
profile is
signings,
good,
yes. Age
but
profile is
obviously
good.
the quality is
Is
yet
still yet to be seen.
Yeah.
Okay. Now also the subs. Because Xerxes stayed on. He came
No,
on.
Xerxes
Sorry.
came
He
on,
scored
yeah.
the winner.
Bruno came off.
No, he
Bruno came off
the
against
game.
Brighton, which was
So
suicidal.
what were the
but
subs?
anyway.
Xerxes came on.
So Xerxes came on, Mount came off,
Mount came off. For,
and Garnacho also came on for Ahmad.
Yes.
So Xerxes came on for Mason Mount.
Yeah. And
That's
then
who-
Delict came
and then
on
De Ligt
for
came on
Maguire.
Maguire.
Can
Those
I-
were the 3 subs.
Maguire was. We touched on
Maguire
the
had a good
striker,
game.
midfield. Oh yeah, a little bit on the defenders. Centre back. Are you happy with the way Maguire played that game?
Yeah, I think Maguire played the game pretty well.
Okay.
The only issue is that what he did the following week against Brighton,
he made a
because
mistake.
he let the ball run behind him, which is a no-no.
Which
in
we'll get to
football,
that as well.
But we know exactly what Maguire gives you.
Yeah.
No criticism to Maguire in terms of he's a professional. I think I'm one of his biggest critics. But what I will give him credit for is that he's more professional than your Rashfords or whatever. The whole country in England, they were behind his back, booing him, even for the English national team. But he kept his professionalism.
I agree with you.
And I respect him for that.
He's
But
he represents the badge.
He represents the badge, so I have nothing against him.
I think that's why also they give him the benefit of a doubt, because I feel of the
He's a
way he
good
carries
professional.
himself.
He's a good professional. Yes.
But
he's just not good enough for Manchester United. That's the thing.
Out of topic. We've lost McTominay as well.
Yes.
You know,
I don't know. Very delighted about that.
I know
Very
people
happy.
are delighted about that, but under the circumstances, I am worried. Not because I feel under the circumstances, there are a lot of games that McTominay pulled through and he helped us. But I guess
as an option on the bench,
I agree with you. I agree with you in terms of as an option on the bench.
And I'm talking about circumstances
when
right
you think
now.
about what he did even last season, he was like the third top goal scorer for the club.
Coming off of
the bench. So you're right. He's got that ability and that nick. He scored for Scotland as well and you
got to give him credit for that.
International break in the UEFA Nations League. So I understand. And right now we don't have a player like that because Mason Mount is shooting blanks. He hasn't scored. He only scored one goal since he signed.
Yeah. He's injury prone.
He's injured right now as we speak. We don't know
unreliable.
why. And
so
I want us to talk about the injuries because I don't know, the whole medical department at United should be questioned.
Yeah.
Because we're having injuries every week. These guys, we barely start the season.
Yeah.
Everybody's injured.
Yeah.
Hoyland is injured.
Yeah.
Malacia has been injured since last year, February.
Almost 2 years.
I even forgot that he's even still playing for United.
Exactly.
I forgot that. Oh, by the way.
Unacceptable.
By the way, we signed
Malacia. Talk about
Malacia.
Luke Shaw.
Yeah.
Luke Shaw.
He needs to be called out.
I think his time is up as well.
So why is he still playing for Manchester United? Because you need to rip it up.
Okay, we happy with Fulham, huh? Are you happy with the result as well? What are your thoughts on the 1-0 result? I think I'm not happy because I feel it's a game we actually, fine, start of the season, it's slow, but I feel it's and not discrediting the way Fulham played. I think they're a decent team. They're a decent team. They had us in but the only issue I have, I feel at the level that we want to get to, and if we're serious about making top 4, those are games where it should be convincing. We've put them in their place. And historically, that's what we're known for. And
but
we
the
need to
chances
get
were
to those
there.
spaces.
It's just that we didn't take them. So
that's part of the issue.
Yeah, but
you
I just
can't.
think that
we can't say the chances. You know what I mean? It's not. And I'm not saying you're saying it's acceptable, but we have to at a higher level, at top 4 level. There's no excuse. You've got to take your chances. We'll touch on Rashford, which I think is a very
it's a contentious subject.
A big headache for us.
Yeah, it is.
Can we move on from Fulham? Can we move on to the second game? Brighton, which we lost.
I think before I say something about the game, the Brighton game, United has this thing of playing well for the first 15, 30 minutes. And they convince you that, okay, you can relax, you're going to win this game. But they can't play well consistently because like the Fulham game, very reminiscent of the Fulham game. You play well for half an hour, right? Then you're putting us under the impression that you're actually going to do well for the whole game. But that level, United can't maintain that throughout the 90 minutes.
Okay.
And a football match is 90 minutes. Played well for the first half an hour. But
why, in your opinion? Why do you think we can't maintain that? And I'll ask the question as well. I like to run through the starting lineup. I also like to run through the subs and the decisions that the manager has made, especially with Cisse.
So I think the starting lineup was identical to the first game.
He started the same players.
Yeah.
But I think the problem is, I think sometimes these players, they play within themselves. So they play well for 30 minutes. And then after that, they become complacent because I think they can sense that, okay, this is not a difficult game. We're doing well. But they haven't scored. You see, that's the thing. Or you haven't scored, but you play within yourself now because you think
I hope they didn't have that approach for Brighton.
This is a but this is a mentality issue within the squad. The manager needs to sort that out because these players, even against Liverpool, the game after, first 10 minutes,
it dates back to Solskjaer.
Because they were exactly like that. Is that these guys can play well for 30 minutes and then look horrible the nest hour. So I think that's what happened.
But what is
Brighton.
it? Let's have a discussion around that. What is it? You know what I mean? What, in your opinion? Firstly, I think Ten Hag.
But it's not a manager thing because
I think it is.
This has been happening since even Mourinho was having this issue.
But that is a manager thing.
Not consistent.
No,
it is. Those managers
Ten Hag now has all those players are Ten Hag's players.
I was about to
Right?
say that.
So
You selected the
yes,
players.
yes, there's an issue with the culture. Maybe let's use that word. It's the
It's a
culture in the
cultural
football
thing.
club
Yeah.
for me that
Mm.
exists. But also the reason why you performing for at a high level for such a short time is because you're carrying passengers. If you have
Thank
players
you.
like Rashford, right, who cannot be asked, right? This is not an attack on Rashford, right? Rashford
Let's
on
touch-
his day.
let's-
Wait,
let's-
and
let's-
I want to
sorry.
unpack this because
Yeah,
wait,
let's
Kanye,
get it out
I
the
just
way.
I just feel
The
like
Rashford
I
thing.
just feel like um, players like Rashford, those are homegrown players, right? Those are players that have gone through the academy, they've gone through the system at Man United. So our expectation of such players is extremely high. Whether that is fair or not, that's a separate discussion, right? But Rashford has been made to be a player that he's not, and that's partially our fault because he scores 30 goals. We say he's world class is Mbappe when he's not. He's not Mbappe. So in our heads, we criticize him so much because
Because we
we
hold him
put
to a
him here.
standard that
We've
he's
put him.
not.
We've esteemed him to say this guy is one of the best players in the world or one of the best players in the Premier League when he's not. He's not even in the top 10 best Premier League players right now. Even when he probably went on the 30 goal season, yes, he was in the top 10. But generally, Rashford is not a top 10 Premier League player. I'm sorry, in his position.
And
So
I think
my
Jamie
point
Carragher
is-
said the same.
Yeah,
that
and-
if he's your main attack at United, you'll
You're
never
not
win
gonna.
the Premier
How are you
League.
going to win the Premier League when City has a guy like Haaland who scores goals for fun? He scored 2 hat-tricks already, and we're only 3 games in. You don't stand a chance. That's the reality. But just to get to your point, what's the issue of the team that we're not playing well consistently throughout all the games? Number one, we're carrying passengers. So if we have a player that will drop lower to a
Is
level,
it just Rashford?
no, it's not just Rashford.
I think
So I'm not-
Bruno
I'm
at
not
times,
sca-
for
I'm not
me,
scapegoating him.
he's inconsistent.
But
within
Bruno's also
games as well.
inconsistent in
Yeah.
games. And
I have a
I
soft
said,
spot for him.
No, I have a soft spot for Bruno because I think we're worse without him. So here's the thing. So don't get me wrong. Bruno is not immune to criticism. But when he's not there, we are worse off, which is a concern for me because that means the other players are not good enough. Because if Bruno had to be injured for the whole season, we screwed. That's it. We can wrap it up. That's over.
Yeah.
Right? Which is problematic because what are players like Mount doing? What are the other midfielders doing? Nothing. They're not good enough. And that's why we're not good enough as a team because you take out a few individuals, our squad, it crumbles.
And that's why
Last
we finished
season, we
eighth.
finished 8th
And
exactly
you
for
see
that reason.
those individuals that you take out, it's not a lot. That's why I say.
Yeah, you take out 4
for me,
players, that
Bruno-
team's over.
oh,
But for me, let's have on that, right? The squad. We spent, or Ten Hag has spent 500 million in the last 2 years. Okay, 2 years,
Ridiculous
not
amounts of money.
not 10 years, 2 years. He spends 500 million of mostly players he's handpicked himself, and these are major signings. I'm not counting Christian Eriksen as a free.
People are going
as a
straight into
free-
the first team.
Exactly.
Yeah.
These are his players, and he's bought players that now he doesn't use. Anthony hasn't kicked a ball this season for good reason, because I'm sorry, it hasn't worked out for him. But Ten Hag needs to be questioned to say, dude, you spent 90 million on this player. You can't just discard him now because he hasn't worked out. What made you spend so much money if you knew that he wasn't going to
but
work
his
out?
performance is just letting us down when you put him on. So I understand
But
that
the
now you
manager
need
needs to be
justify it.
accountable for that.
100%.
But I think to counter that argument, right? Remember that Anthony was signed by the previous regime.
But the
wait.
manager
No,
gave
no, no.
the regime didn't know who
No,
Anthony is.
But that's
it's
the
Ten
problem.
Hag who told them
No,
that there's
that's
Anthony.
that was the issue.
Because he's
with-
from Ajax.
No,
Exactly.
that was the issue with the transfer policy that was utilized by Richard Arnold and Co.
But
so
also
for me,
as
I blame Ten Hag, but I also blame the
also-
other guys because they should have said, if we're going to sign a player for 90 million quid, right? He has to be a bloody good player.
But think of it
And
this
he's
way.
not. So I just think the person that authorizes the signings also has to be held accountable because we need to discuss if I'm going to be spending 90 million of my money, I need to think, is this what I need to do my due diligence?
But-
and
but
the previous
also-
regime never did due
Okay,
diligence.
but on
players.
just on
Just
that
bring
point,
the mic a bit closer
just
to you.
just on that point,
No, tilt,
um,
yeah. And then tilt it down a bit. Yeah, sorry.
just on that on his point there, as a manager, you need to have some business acumen. And what I mean by that is if you say, okay, I want this player, I want Anthony, then Ajax, they come back, John Murta and whoever was doing the signings at that time, come back to Ten Hag and say, okay, they are willing to sell, they don't want to sell Anthony because actually they wanted to keep him that summer. And then they said, we can sell him, but at 90 million. As a manager, you need to have a business acumen because you've coached the player to know, I want him, but not at that price.
Yeah.
He's done that a lot of times, Guardiola. He wanted Alexis Sanchez, and then they told him the wages he want. He said, no, let's move on. They wanted Maguire. They said, no, not at 80 million that Leicester has. As a manager, you're a manager,
But
not
I don't
a
think
coach.
I don't think
You're
that
a manager,
decision
not
was
a coach.
only made by Guardiola. So I get what Sitli's saying, but that decision was not only made by Guardiola. That's when you have a proper football structure, because the people that are signing, it's a collective. When you sign a player, you've got now Dan Ashworth. We spoke about him in the last episode. You've got Dan Ashworth. You've got Omar Barada, who signs the checks. You've got is it
Jason Wilcox.
Jason
the
Wilcox,
technical
and there's
director.
another guy, the one that was appointed in the UEFA.
Jason Favell.
No, Laurent. It sounds French.
Jean-Claude
Yes.
Blanc, but no, he's a board member.
Okay,
He's not,
okay,
he's
okay.
not.
But the point that I'm making is that it's a collective. So this thing of if Ten Hag says I want this player and you guys say yes, you can get this player. Yes, it's on Ten Hag, but you guys agree to it.
Yeah.
So you can't Ten Hag. Yes, he has himself to blame if the signing does not work, but blame the previous regime. That's why now there's a tactical approach into signing players. There wasn't a tactical approach. We were signing players because we want to make headlines. Oh, Anthony's 89 million.
Yeah.
Wow. That means therefore he's going to be a successful signing.
Not even a commercial signing, in my opinion. So
Well,
No, he's
exactly.
not.
He
I would,
wasn't.
I would have understood it. Okay, you're still on this commercial signing bandwagon, but he's not even a commercial one. So on the subject, we're still on the point of Brighton, and what my take is, I think we've addressed the issue. It's signing the wrong players, and also the players that you have are not reliable, are not the ones that are there to do the job. Therefore, it has created this environment of just having passengers. So it says that. So there's a big issue with signings. I think that answers the issue with the Brighton game, when you guys were saying that it's the same old system, same. That's the. It's not signing the right players, and signings that we have signed that are no longer working out, which is a big issue that needs to be fixed.
Or that have never even worked out to begin with.
They've
because
never
to be
worked out
fair,
to begin with.
Anthony started off well,
Yes.
right? And I think he had some.
I
some
still-
no, he started
I
off
think
well.
he
I think
scored in his first three games.
Yeah, first three
Scored
games he
against
scored.
Arsenal, City,
He
and I don't know
started well,
Which I feel
right?
it's easily impressionable, because if you score, there are certain things that are just
No,
an
he scored, but
expectation.
he scored and he played well. The problem is, I think maybe that was his downfall, because he thought, I have this. But then he's never gone back to that level, because he doesn't need. We're not asking him to be Ronaldo or Messi. No, we're asking him to be a good Premier League winger. There's a lot of wingers in the Premier League that are far better than
Take
him.
on your defenders, put in
Exactly.
crosses.
We're not asking him
He's
to
not
do a
doing the
lot. He's-
basics.
I think
the
he should be
basics-
the Cristiano. I
Yeah.
think he
No,
should.
Because but
No, I
contrary,
think so, because look-
Lamini, but contrary, you have Ahmad, right, who started off the season, who I feel, by the way, will come to the Liverpool game, was dropped for that Liverpool game fraudulently, because he was never supposed to be dropped out of that game. The only person that needed to be dropped, I won't mention again. So Anthony is failing to do the basics. Ahmad does the basics. Number one, he takes on his man, right? That's what a winger needs to
And
do.
puts on
If
a
you're
cross.
a winger for Manchester United and you can't take on a man, what are you doing here? He takes on his man, right? He puts on a cross. Every time he goes forward, he looks like a threat. I just feel he's been unfortunate in terms of not Ten Hag not trusting him too much, or Ten Hag is scared because he needs to play Rashford or whatever. Because even Garnacho, I feel it's been unfair that he's been in and out as a sub. Garnacho and Ahmad, in my opinion, need to be starting games. Rashford has been poor for the whole season. Right? Not only this season, sorry.
18
For the
months
whole
now.
year. Over a year, he's been poor.
Yeah.
Right? There hasn't been improvement. And also for me, I question Ten Hag, because what are you guys doing in your team meetings, in your one-on-ones? Right? This is an organization, an institution that is ran in terms of you have one-on-ones with players, you have talks with players. What are you saying to him? Rashford, why are you garbage, my man? You need to discuss those things. How are you going to improve the player? I don't think Ten Hag is... whether he's doing it or not, clearly he's not working.
Yeah.
And it has to be called out. Rashford needs to work. He's on high wages. right?
we can't get rid of
We
him
can't get
because
rid of him. He's on high wages.
His contract's
He
too
needs
long
to
now.
work, and he can't be a terrible,
I
shocking
think that's
player
the problem.
overnight. I mean, he's not a shocking player overnight.
player
He's a
in there.
decent player.
I-
This
I-
guy on his day, he should be better than most of these guys. I always say he's got the perfect physique for a Premier League player. He's fast, he's quick, he's strong. The only thing is just here, his mind.
Yeah, I personally think that's the problem. We have a player where we're trying to make it work, and I had a conversation with you. If I had to like have a conversation with Rashford or person, I feel he wants to be at the club. It's a like a nostalgia
think it
thing.
needs
It's
a change now?
yes. The
No, but
and I think
look,
I
you know,
personally
I
think
mean, wait. I
Yeah.
mean, sorry. Like it's not by any stretch of the imagination questioning his love for Manchester United. That's not that's not what I'm insinuating. All I'm saying is when he's at his best, he's unplayable,
yeah.
right? But when he's at his worst, he's unbearable to
and
watch.
that's the issue I
Very
wanna-
difficult to
and
watch.
that's the issue I want to address as to why is at his worst. I feel it's time to move on. I feel it's a thing of I love this club, guys. This marriage is not working
just
anymore,
needs a change
and
of
it's not
environment
not
now, yeah.
anything personal. It's just I've been at this club for a very long time. I think I just need, like you say, a different environment, a different something that will
Outlook.
stimulate
Maybe
me
something that will
differently.
motivate him differently as well.
And when you look at creatives, without trying to derail, when you want to be creative in your game or you want to express yourself, sometimes you just need where you
different
like,
space.
I've done it all. I've been here from, and I think that's the issue with Rashford. I say a lot of people have ruled him out. A lot of people say that he's not going to perform anywhere else. He's finished as a player. I disagree. I just feel United is no longer the place for him. And I don't know what the conversations are, but I think that's the challenge. How are we going to have a conversation where, or how is he going to express himself when this club has given him everything that, you know, has made him who he is today and has given him the opportunities, put him the platform. He is who he is because of United. And we're trying to make it work. But sometimes you just have to be like, guys,
But listen,
I need a fresh
other
start.
players as well that were part of the academy have left. David Beckham, you know.
But I think
there's been greats that the issue.
his one
the
is
thing
unique though. His one is
yeah,
unique.
It's unique,
and
but also
people are not the
sometimes
same in
it's
terms of
always,
Lingard went to West Ham.
and he did well. you see.
Exactly.
So
Different environment,
but
same
he needed
league.
a change.
Exactly. And that's
At
what I'm
the-
saying
so-
with Rashford.
So Rashford as well. I
Yeah.
agree with you. He needs a change.
And I think that's what Rashford also needs. Lingard, the silliest thing that he did was come back to United. That change, that was the one to go to West Ham to trigger his career.
Yeah, Rashford needs a
And
change.
Sancho now went to Dortmund. Unfortunately, Dortmund, the money that is on. So sometimes it's I can't move on because of contractual agreements. Who else is going to take me? How am I going to move on? And now you're stuck in this environment of now we just have to make it work.
Yeah.
Okay, we're still on Brighton, guys. I think we have touched in without moving out of topic, you know. I think we still touched on what the bigger issues are. But let's zoom into the game now, you know. What were the positives of the game? What were the negatives of the game in your guys' opinion? And what were that positives and negatives that actually influenced the result that we got from first half? Let's start with the first half. We'll move on to the second half and then also touch on the changes that he's made.
So I think the first half, as I said, was decent. Like the first 20, 25 minutes was decent, but
Yes.
that's not good enough for Manchester United. That you're just decent for half the time in the first half.
Yeah.
However, I don't think there was too many.
Decent.
We didn't. So decent. We played some good stuff. I think you could see a bit of identity of what we're trying to do. No issues whatsoever.
Against
It's
an
just- it's
inexperienced
just-
manager.
no, against like, an inexperienced manager who's very young. But to be fair to him, he's inheriting a club that has been run well. He's inheriting a decent team. Of course, this team should not. And by the way, we have a shocking record against Brighton. We've never beaten.
Is that
We've beaten them
forgivable?
once.
Is that forgivable?
It's
for
not
Ten
forgivable.
Hag?
We have
Yeah.
beaten them once at the Air Max, which was the end of last season. It's not really anything to play for. Even Mourinho was losing there. So even Mourinho days he was losing at the Air Max. So we don't have a good record. But anyway, the point is, in the game, I think first half I was content with the first half. I was annoyed by the error that Maguire did.
And I think that
I think
changed
also
the game.
Dalo also was to blame. He didn't cover his man, allowed the cross to come in. And then once the cross came in, Maguire watched the ball. which you never do. Matoma crossed it back and then someone finished, right?
That wasn't the
So that was the
first
first
half.
goal. Yeah, that was the first half, right? So unlucky. But then I think before in the first half as well, Ahmad missed a glorious chance. Dalu
Can I
crossed
just touch
a
on-
brilliant cross, and then Ahmad missed.
Can I
that.
just touch
But
on Maguire?
I just
Sorry,
think-
I'll give you now.
Yeah.
I just want to just touch on Maguire before I lose my train of thought. It's not something we haven't seen before.
Correct.
But
that's
why did he
he's
start
known-
Maguire?
exactly.
Because he signed a
Maguire's
centre back
known
on
for
his
those
own.
type of
Yeah,
areas.
so why is he starting?
That's the only issue I have. It'd
Yeah.
be different if it's like De Ligt, but it's known. You
Yeah,
always
he
make
does that.
these silly rookie mistakes
Mhm.
where you are always caught in the crossfire of losses.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
We know exactly what Maguire is about. He is an error-prone defender,
Yeah.
right? There's certain qualities he's very good at. We know that he's a box defender. He can clear crosses. He's very aggressive, which we need that. But obviously, he lacks a bit of mobility.
Yeah.
So he can't, the high press that we're trying to play, where the defenders are higher up, he doesn't like it when the ball is played behind him and he has to chase back. That's not his game. So we know his limitations.
I don't even think the firstly United is not the club for him, and the Premier
But
League.
listen,
I don't
Ma-
think
Maguire-
it's even.
but
it's not
Maguire's
only
here
him.
now,
Most of these
Yeah.
players.
But,
Man,
yeah, let's- yeah.
most of these players, Man United is not for them, and that has been the issue with us for the last 10, 11 years. Is that we've recruited players. Some of them were good players, right? But we've recruited players that are not to the level of Manchester United. That's a fact.
Yeah.
I mean, we started this segment by talking about the signings we've made and how we're not really convinced that these guys can reach the level that we expect them to reach.
Yeah.
And that's just United falling victim to not signing elite players. And maybe also that's a testament to where we are as a football club, because we can't sign Haaland, we can't sign Bellingham, we can't sign those
The
type of
top
players.
players,
The
yeah.
top players Real Madrid is signed. We can't sign those players.
Can't sign Mbappe.
We can't sign Mbappe.
Yeah.
Why would he?
Why would he come to Manchester United?
Okay, so then those are we touched positive, decent game, and
Just
then
on my
still on first half.
just on
your
Brighton
side.
for me.
Yeah.
First half as well, I think was similar to the Fulham game. We had control of the game. We didn't create too many chances, but we had some chances. But my big issue is that when the first goal came in, or when they scored the first goal, the heads of the players dropped, and it happened against Liverpool as well. We were dominant. Liverpool scored against the run of play. So we were on top, they scored. Then the game changes, right? It happens
momentum switches.
even the Brighton game. Brighton score a goal. Now Brighton have 60% possession when we had 60% possession. So the manager needs to address that you shouldn't stop what you're doing well because the opposition has scored. So I think that's part of the big
That
issue.
goal was-
And that's why we lost the game. Because even late on,
Because we considered in the 90-something
the
minutes. I don't
players
know.
switch off.
They
Because
switch off.
there were 3 Brighton players on the last goal. In the,
The
back
one, the
post,
ball that lobbed on
in
into
the back post, there's
That
3
was
Brighton
rookie.
players and there's no
That
red
was
shirt.
crazy.
Yeah.
When we
So
put
what
on
does
De
that
Ligt-
tell you?
yeah.
These players cannot concentrate for 90 minutes. They switch off. They are unprofessional. And the manager needs to call that out. He needs to tell these players, I cannot see this again. It happened against Chelsea last season when we lost 4-3. You are leading the game 3-2.
First of all, you were
and
2-0
then
down.
In a couple
You
of
recover
minutes,
2-2.
Yeah,
you
but
are
there's
four-
another
You
part.
win 3-2.
so this is basically a trend. It's a pattern. So if if it happens once, yeah, it's the players. But if it happens again and again, you need to question that. Is the manager addressing this problem?
Yeah, but okay, cool. But there's another missing piece of that game that the manager needs to take accountability for. He took out Bruno Fernandes, which I
For no
don't think he
reason.
shouldn't have
Yeah.
taken him off. Fine, I understand you put on, because he also took off Maguire for De Ligt, which was
When he should have started.
when he
the
should
league.
have started him. So just
and,
as,
and also this thing of chopping and changing
Yeah,
centre halves.
and I think
is-
actually that
is-
was
chopping
actually
and changing.
the
that was the
downfall of the
downfall.
game.
Thank
You
because
can't
you
switch
change. Yeah.
at this professional level. If your centre half is not injured,
Yeah.
if it's not some genius tactical switch, there's
there's no
absolutely
reason.
should never be a
Centre
reason
halves.
why you're
Centre
changing your
backs.
centre back.
Centre
It's a
halves,
sensitive.
Because
It's like
it's
changing your
disorganized,
goalkeeper.
disorganize the defense.
centre halves, you just need guys who are well organized, cool headed. Martinez, I think the Martinez pair with
De
De
Ligt
Ligt can
works
work
well.
well.
Because it's a
They
partnership.
don't run
It's a
much. They're not
partnership.
wingers that are running. All they have to do is just stay in the game, keep us solid at the back, don't concede silly goals, keep us organized. You're not doing a lot of running like wingers. Bruno Fernandes in that game was a guy who was offering us creativity, was making us tick. He was also very upset with that sub.
But I think
It
also,
was.
I think
What
also,
was the justification of taking him off? I think he took him off because I want to run down the goal
No,
scorers.
I think he took him off because Bruno didn't really have a preseason because he had the Euros.
Yeah, but manage
and also
that better. Manage that better. Not
but,
in a game.
I
It
guess
was
so.
it was an unnecessary move. I feel that was the key moment in that match. Sometimes you just need to
No,
bite
for
the
me,
bullet.
the key moment is taking off the centre backs because
I agree,
that
but I think
disorganized
Bruno
the
as well.
defense.
Okay, fine.
So
You take
that's
off
the
Bruno.
issue.
Who did he take off? He took off Bruno and then he put on who?
he took off Bruno. He put on Xerxes. He put
I
on
think
Garnacho.
McTominay-
He also
he
took
put on
off Ahmad.
Garnacho.
So he
Yeah.
took off Ahmad. He put on Garnacho. Did he take
McTominay
Rashford
came
off
on.
that game?
They were,
Yeah,
Yeah,
Rashford
I
came
think
off.
McTominay came on. That was
McTominay
McTominay's
came
last
on.
game. Yeah,
So you're
McTominay
putting
came
on
on for
Bruno.
exactly.
Yeah.
You're putting on McTominay, a guy who we're going to sell anyway.
Which didn't make sense.
So-
why
where,
should-
where
then-
his mind is not even here anymore. So you're right. The manager should take accountability because his mind was
That
not even
game,
there.
there was just some very questionable decisions. You know what I'm saying? Just as much as you can say, yeah, Bruno was, but then you put on a player that we're about to sell.
No, makes no
Though
sense.
your decisions don't make sense.
No.
So I think those were the key moments of that game. I think the loss, because that just messed up the rhythm. De Ligt, you put him on where, like you say, should have started. Don't put him on when it's a mess now. It's a complete. Then there was the Liverpool game, which we'll touch on, which there was a kid that he put on, a kid I've never seen.
Toby Collier.
Toby
Toby
Collier.
Collier. Yeah, he put him for Casemiro in the
He had
second
to.
half.
He didn't have a choice.
Was this the Liverpool
The
game?
Liverpool
We'll
game.
touch on that.
Yeah.
So those for me were the key moments of that game. I feel Bruno stayed on. Keep him on. Okay, fine. If you want to take him off, it's a timing thing. Take him off when we are drawing, or take him off towards the last minute. Or sometimes you just need to, like, I can't take him off now because I just need to at least get us a goal. 1 or 2. Then you put on a McTominay.
But I just think
can
Ten
then
Hag-
come on to make sure that, okay, we've got the lead. We can stay in the game. The time is off. Bruno come
Yeah,
off.
I
resting.
think Ten Hag low key was
he got it
content
all
with the
wrong
draw.
there.
Yeah, I
He,
think
he was happy
playing
with the
for a
draw. He was
draw.
like, guys, you know what? Let's consolidate this draw. Let's go back
It
to
was
Old
terrible.
Trafford.
And it
We'll take it,
backfired.
and it backfired. And I think also
Yeah.
you have to question the mentality of the manager, right?
That's what I'm saying. I don't blame the players in that game.
Ronaldo recently said
spoke about
Yeah.
this.
he spoke about Ten Hag. He said, Ten Hag, how can you be a Manchester United manager and you say that you're not going to fight to challenge for the big trophies? Because at the end of the day,
Our standards have dropped, guys.
exactly. The
Our
standards, have dropped. Yes, we know
drastically.
we're not unrealistic. We know
Yeah.
we're not going to win the Premier League right now.
Yeah.
We're not going to win the Champions League. But winning these Carabao Cups and all of those, that's not going to cut it in the long term. It's not sustainable.
Do you ever thought a time like that would ever exist where we are now having
Never.
conversations where we're saying we're never gonna win the league?
Yeah,
We're never.
I would never ever imagined that this would be the case.
Winning a league was
that's,
normal.
but that's reality.
Cicely always says, like at United, there was an era where winning is normal.
Yeah, we used to make bets and tell people, oh, by the way, we're gonna win the league, and they say, no, you can't say that. You're like, yeah, we can, and because Alex
And it
Ferguson
happens.
in the Premier League era
Yeah.
never finished worse than third. So
Yeah.
chances are, if you want to win the league, you need to be better than Manchester United.
Yeah.
But right now, we're far from it.
So Brighton game, can we close it off? I think
Yeah.
for me, we've touched on the key highlights of it. If there's anything that we'd like to mention, I like the Cristiano Ronaldo. It might derail us the thing, but let's stay on track. Maybe we can squeeze it in at the end. Let's move on to the Liverpool game. Starting lineup of the Liverpool game: positives, negatives. It was a very embarrassing game. Before I give you guys a platform, for me, what really touched me with that game were Arne Slot, excuse me if I'm pronouncing it wrong.
No, you're pronouncing it correct.
A guy who I think I underestimated him. I thought he's, and I like it. I love the fact that he's proving me wrong. I think,
He looks like a serious manager.
this is not about Liverpool, but what I like to see in the club at Liverpool right now is I think Klopp has left a really good tone for him.
He's left a good foundation.
He's left a good foundation, and he's like, you guys, all you have to do now is just find the right person.
Yeah.
That's going to. And what I'm seeing, the players are responding to him. The players, there's a response in it. There's a level of the players appreciating the way his approach.
Yeah.
And why I'm mentioning that is because I think that was also part of the reason why we lost that game. We played a team where hit the ground running already. This is the identity. This is what I expect from you guys. Let's make it happen. And also he selected the right players. Signings as well, when we touched on part of the problems that we have in our club, there's just something that they're getting right there. And
But
I think
you only signed one player, and he's
no, but I'm also talking from the
From the
signings
past.
inherited as well. Where I
exactly.
felt
that there's
which was
continuity.
to the point.
Yeah, there's
Which to a point
continuity.
where our issues is any manager that comes, which was part of the reason why Ten Hag you couldn't get rid of him, because I think that was also the issue. You get rid
There's
of
a lot
Ten
of
Hag,
these
you're getting a
players
new
that-
manager,
You have new
but now then he has to
players,
deal
yeah.
with these players.
Yeah.
These players
Are not his players.
are not his players.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
the cycle starts again. So then it was just like, Ten Hag, continue.
Look,
So-
I think
So just before I let you, because you guys will go into the details. I like how you guys go into the details. I just want to briefly touch on the sentiments and why the mood was just so down. For me, a manager that just came in and made that game look like just another day at the office.
It was too easy for Liverpool.
Second half, he takes off his best players against United. It was just embarrassing. It was very embarrassing for me. It was job done. First half, okay, boom, 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 goals. Second half, I think it took off Trent. Just took off at some point. Salah came off against United.
Look, I agree
That
with
for
you.
me is things. It's what I feel that also we should touch on as well in the details of the game. But for me, that's what really hit me to be like, this guy, a big fixture like that, where we just were made to look like a bang average team.
I think that's the problem. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
That's the problem with Manchester United right now. We are so easy to play against because we have no fight.
Yeah.
We have no desire. There's certain things before we come to quality, right? Sir Alex Ferguson used to say to the players, if you outwork these guys, they're not beating you because they're not as good as you.
Yeah.
Right? But right now, we're lacking the quality, we're lacking the fight, we're lacking the desire, we're lacking the work rate, right? And you can't be a Premier League player. Sitley spoke about the demands of being a Premier League player and how the Premier League has evolved in terms of how physically you need to be acclimatized to the league, right? So I agree with you. I think Liverpool were not even at their best. They didn't have to be. They beat us in second gear. They didn't have to be at their best, and I think that was a frustrating thing for me.
It
what I
hurts
saw.
me that you're saying that.
because
it really
at the end of
hurts
the
to hear
game,
those words.
at the end of the game, I saw Liverpool high-fiving. Not even a sweat on high-fiving. They're not
The
even gasping
arrogance.
for air.
Trent
It was a very easy
Alexander-Arnold
game.
after the game, there was a post of
Making
him
gestures.
just making gestures.
Salah is making,
and he's
is
smiling.
taking selfies.
They're taking
Yeah,
selfies.
they're taking selfies.
How
Easy day at the
embarrassing.
office. And I just feel like then you start to see that the players that you have in the main, you've got mercenaries. You've got players who do not understand what it means to play for United. Because I'm telling you, those guys,
What is it, just
after
solely
the
the
game,
players,
no.
guys?
Exactly. And maybe that's why United is a different club. Because if you're going to play there and just say, no, I'm a professional, I'm just doing my job, most of those players won't make the
you
cut.
need to be emotionally
There's a
invested.
uniqueness. There's a uniqueness about playing for Manchester United. And that's why you can have best players coming to United and failing.
You know why
Because
I
there's a
like
uniqueness.
I'm not saying you're wrong with mentioning the players. The reason why I'm very careful of how we are. Yes, granted, they do deserve a bit of scrutiny, criticism as well. I'm not saying they're immune to that, but when you are a manager, you guys always say, however, Ten Hag, you've chosen these players. As you guys have said this, you chose these players. And so then isn't there another question of when you are choosing these players, how are you assessing these? What is your assessment based on what they can provide on the field, based on their mentality, based on their character? Does it make sense?
No, it makes sense, but I think
how are you addressing that issue? Because you can't then sign a player, then when they don't respond the way you want them to respond on the field and are not showing that intensity, for me, then I think there's also a level of you as from your recruitment, How
Which
are
I
you
spoke about
how are
earlier.
you doing your
Yeah.
psychometric assessment of that player, of like from where they come from, because then what it says to me, then we are also signing players that we are not scouting them properly, which are not suited for the team. Number one, who don't understand the badge, who don't understand what this badge stands for.
But that has been the story for the last 10 years.
So then-
That- you see,
so
what you're saying,
I think
has been the story
True.
for the last
So
10
the only
years.
thing I want to conclude to, without like taking it all over the place, I just want to conclude and say, I can't then I choose you for the job, and then when you're there, and then and you're not always going to get
When
it
there's
right.
challenges, yeah.
But the problem that United, it's wrong all the time. We're still trying to replace Cristiano Ronaldo
But you can't
as a
do-
striker.
But you can't.
No,
do
no,
that.
but I'm just saying in terms of, okay, maybe that's not a good example, but we're still trying to find a prolific striker. Someone who's going to guaranteed give us 10, 20 goals a season. Guaranteed.
But you see, the problem with that is
we're
that
still trying to
we
find
spend
wins.
100 million on 2 strikers. So
So
how are you trying to
So then
replace a
when
prolific striker, but you already spent that money for a striker?
So all I'm saying, you're making my point for me now to say, fine, let's be harsh on the players. Let's criticize them. Cool. Ten Hag. And I like when you wanted to touch on that. And now all I'm saying is, can we please touch on that as well in this game as well? So, but yeah, that's the only thing I wanted to say when you were mentioning the Liverpool side. I don't know, Sitli, what's your...
So I think for me, overall, for Liverpool, I think it was a game of errors. I think, yeah, we can blame Ten Hag in certain aspects of it. But
Casemiro.
we gifted Liverpool 3 goals. The first 2 goals, Casemiro mistakes. The third goal was Kobe Mainoo losing the ball in midfield. But where I criticize Ten Hag now is that even when that happens, it shouldn't always result into a goal. That's the problem. So you need to have a structure in place to say that even if you lose the ball, there's a contingency for that. There was no contingency.
I don't think you should have taken off
Every
Casemiro.
time we lost the ball, they scored a goal. That's not acceptable.
Okay.
No,
would you
can I
disagree
touch
with-
something?
Okay.
Wait, can I touch something? Because I hear what you're saying about probably not taking Casemiro off, because I think psychologically that affected the team, because you saw one of the biggest players in the history of football in terms of winning trophies getting hooked off at halftime. Yes, you're sending a
For a
message,
kid.
which I don't, for a kid, and I don't have an issue with Ten Hag doing that. But
Just
where's your
replace him.
energy? No, when Rashford pulls up stinkers,
Yeah.
you keep
He's
quiet. You
not-
don't. You won't.
yeah,
You
he
don't have.
picks
You
and
don't have.
chooses.
You guys have an issue
no,
with
no, no. I
Rashford.
don't have a Rashford. I don't have an issue with Rashford. But you don't have the
Hey,
pace.
this
was
thing is
happy to-
personal.
No,
He was
you
happy
don't
to
have-
drop Cristiano.
He was happy to drop
He's happy to
Cristiano.
drop
You've
Casemiro,
got the
but he
pair
can't
to do
drop
that. But when you
Rashford.
have to drop Rashford, you don't have the pair. Now you don't have.
doesn't
And
make
I think
sense.
sometimes that makes you not get respected
Rashford
by
has an,
players. No, wait,
Rashford
I
has
mean-
an MBE's what?
No, MBE. We don't care about
MBE.
MBE Rashford. Here's the
Sir.
thing. No, here's the thing. You have
He
you
gets
have
immunity.
the guts.
He's got an
No.
MBE.
No, you have the guts to hook off Casemiro, right? And you can't really
Rightfully
blame
so.
him. He rightfully so. He was having a nightmare, right? So whether good or bad, we can discuss that after. But the point is, you had the pair to do that, which is fine, right? You put on that kid, which I agree with you, by the way, that maybe hooking off Casemiro was not good for the psychology of the team.
And also, all I'm saying is, oh, fine, I hear the psychology part. I'm just saying, if I'm going to take off a player, I need to look at my bench. Does it make sense? And if I look,
But you know,
and also
before you
So-
start,
so
before
I
you
think-
start, sorry, Lamin, before you start, the point that I wanted to make before I forget about the losing of the ball in midfield, right? Ten Hag in the build-up, right? He plays a 3-1-6, I think, formation.
he always has these
in the
weird
build-up.
formations.
He plays a
and
3-1-6.
I think it's complicating
Wait.
things
so,
as well.
So Casemiro, he drops into centre half, and the fullback, I don't know
The
what
full-
he
weird
does.
things.
So
What
basically,
he does,
what he's
the
doing is
wingers, he tells the wingers, you guys stay up.
up, and then the
Right?
fullbacks go into
The
midfield.
the fullbacks go
And
into
then-
midfield, and then with Casemiro there, and then he plays this 3-1-6 formation that he's doing. So Liverpool knows that because he did that last season. With
Okay,
Ten Hag.
wait. So can I ask? So it's a 3-1-6. So it's
in the
In
build-up.
when we have the ball.
when we have the
De
ball.
Ligt started the game. Huh?
Yeah, I did.
Yes,
We
he
had De Ligt with Martinez.
And then he has
I think they were
Casemiro,
solid.
and then he had Casemiro.
I think
as well
our
as that
defense
three.
was good in that game.
But
And-
that's
but
the
we conceded
frustrating
3
thing.
goals.
Is
No,
that-
no, no,
is
no,
that- is
but-
that- no, you're right. No, the defense hasn't been an issue this season.
I think
It's not
the
about
issue
the
is
center.
I think
The
we're
issue is
getting
midfield.
somewhere when it comes to our defense. The guy that we signed, I'm gonna start
Mazraoui.
learning these players. Sorry, Mazraoui.
Mazraoui.
The thing is, I rule them off before they even get in that.
Nah, you mustn't do
Mazraoui,
that.
I think Mazraoui is promising. Dalot is, oh wow, I'm impressed with Dalot.
Yeah, I think he's been.
I
he's been
think that
one of
De Ligt
United's
and
best
Martinez
players.
pair with no injuries, we touch wood. We hope this. I think defensively we've got it right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you must keep that defense. Midfield, Maino. We still need a Xerxes. We'll see. But the point I'm just trying to make with that 3-1-6. So that was his 4, right? And then he had, because I just want to break it down. And then he had Casemiro in the holding, right? And then who else did he have?
Maino.
So
But
Look,
in possession, he doesn't play. They're not together.
Yeah,
So
in
Casemiro is
possession,
the one left.
but Maino goes high.
Bruno,
Then where's
all of them
Bruno?
are high.
Bruno is
high.
high. So
He's
Bruno,
close
they
to
play the
active
6.
why you complicate? And then we don't have a striker. Then you're having a false 9.
No, but the whole point of him trying to do that is to squeeze the opposition in their own half, right? So that you can also make the press to work, right? So even if they trying to play the ball
I think
back,
it's just too complicated.
it's
Keep
not,
things simple.
Look, I don't think it's complicated. I just think it's risky, right? And I spoke about the high risk, high reward. I just feel like if he had a 6 who was very good at breaking down play,
He has now Ugarte.
which he has, Ugarte. But as I said, it's yet to be seen. There's no excuses. No,
No
look,
excuses.
I'm not
It's his
making
player.
excuses for
And
Ten
we
Hag.
signed this guy for 60 million. So we can't say that he can't do a job. Ten Hag
I don't
chose
know.
him,
I don't know. I'm
or
just
the
saying I'm not
team
gonna
needs
get
to-
carried
needs to
away.
make it
That's all.
work.
I'm not gonna get carried away.
you-
So, okay, fine. So we were speaking on the midfielders. So those were the negatives of the game. I don't know any other contribution with the Liverpool game. I know you had a lot that you wanted to say on Ten Hag on that game as well.
I just think that, okay, so the 3 games, right, are a culmination of now the manager being in situ for 2 years.
Yeah.
And this is his 3rd year. I already mentioned the amount of money he spent. So now it's time to assess him, because most of the players, like you mentioned, are his players now. So we have 2 losses in 3 games. Now he needs to be scrutinized to say what's going wrong, what's not happening. It's been an international break. I hope he went to the drawing board and examined himself in terms of what he's going to need to do, because from where we are sitting right now, Christmas time, he's not going to be the Man United manager.
Then who are you gonna get?
I think we're not going to be able to get someone now unless we're getting someone who's free like Tuchel, who
Mourinho.
I don't want. Mourinho has a job at Fenerbahce, thank God. So I think for me, the guy that I think tactically has the will make an impact for us is Julian Nagelsmann. So that's the guy I would go for. He's currently the German coach, but I think we could take him out of the contract. So he's the guy. There's no other outstanding candidate. I know you're gonna mention Conte's got a job.
Yeah.
Thank
Look,
you.
Fine.
I think
No,
just
I'm
to
done
touch-
with the
just to
Conte thing.
touch- just to elaborate there, I think Ten Hag is in trouble. I think Ten Hag is in trouble. He's in trial right now because Ineos was skeptical about keeping him on because they saw the good and the bad side of Ten Hag. Yes, he won the trophy, which probably saved him the job, right? But you can't be a Manchester United finishing 8th under no circumstances. I think the
I
FA
think
Cup
they looked at
papered
the
up.
injuries.
Yeah,
Maybe
they
thought,
look at the
okay,
injuries
we'll
and they
give
said,
him a
okay, they were
chance.
mitigating circumstances, but you finish 8th, worse than David Moyes, low points tally, negative goal difference,
Yeah.
low goal scored. It's unacceptable. And Ten Hag, I think he lives in this comfort because he's won 2 trophies in 2 years. He thinks he's got time, right? So let's see the patience that Ineos has with him. But after the Liverpool humiliation, remember we were at Old Trafford. We lost that game at Old Trafford. We lost without Liverpool. They were not even trying hard.
It's even sad that you've lost it at home.
Yeah, we lost it at home.
It's embarrassing.
And if you're going to lose the game 3-0 at Old Trafford, come on.
And what's going to happen at
Against your
Anfield?
biggest rivals, what's going to happen at Anfield? You already have 2 losses in 3 games. There's still 35 more games to go.
Personally, Liverpool, at the rate they're going, if they continue with this run, so let's talk top 4, just touching on this game, because I think this game was now gave good context of what
Whether
is
we
really
capable or
going
not.
on. Yeah,
We're not.
because now we're playing
Yeah.
you know what I
We're
mean?
not gonna
Fulham,
make
you're
top
still
4.
like, oh, okay, Brighton, you're like, but now we know
We're
because
not
we're
gonna
playing
make
the
top
level.
4.
So now what are the reasons why we will not make top 4, in my
won't make top
opinion, is I still feel that we have inexperienced players. I know people are, Maino's a good player, which, yeah, I agree. Maino is a good player and stuff. But I feel like the players that we have I don't know if they're sustainable enough to get us top
For
four.
me, it's not an age thing. You look at
No, I'm not even looking at age. I'm just looking at just they're at a stage where they still need to be given time. So I think they are at a stage where they still need to look at Arsenal. There was a time where Arteta was struggling. Anabo Odegaard,
He was finishing 8th as well.
Anabo Saka,
Yeah.
Anabo Martinelli.
No. Look.
Where he was also under pressure. He was also under pressure.
The tide
But now,
can
what was
turn.
it? What was it? I think management were like,
We can see what he's
you
trying
know
to do.
what? Let's have a proper conversation. You've actually got players that are good, but at the stage that they have, they just need to be given that freedom to develop. You know what I mean? To understand the intensity. Maino, that's why you see, and we've got a good example. Maino's mistake was kind of forgivable. Why? There's the age thing, there's a develop. Casemiro's mistake was not forgivable.
because he's a seasoned veteran.
That's the point I want to make. You know what I mean? So Maino, yes, he's the right players in terms of the next. But if we say we're going to make top four now, I'm not sure about that. I can say in the same way with Garnacho. I can say the same thing with Ahmad. And I think even expecting them, when you're playing them consistently and saying, you guys need to get us top four, I also feel that would be it's a very unfair
for me
thing
on that,
to expect that from them.
For me on that,
But if you're saying you want top four in the next 3, 4, 5 years, or in the next season or two, I think because then they'll be at the peak. That's why you're having frustrations with Rashford, because Rashford has been given that time to develop.
Yeah, but
Rashford
also,
I think Rashford, you are our Salah. You are the guy we are relying on to make us tick. That's the point I just want to make.
But you see, I agree with you, right? But Ahmad was signed for like 37 million pounds, and I know it's not his fault, right? But players like Ahmad, right? He had 2 years. It was signed in 2021, right? We're in 2024 right now. So I'm not saying Ahmad, if as your ambition as a player should be, you should be in the starting lineup for Manchester United and delivering after this time. So I get what you're saying, right? That
I have a follow-up question for that.
Garnacho, for example, still a young player, had one full good season. Yes, he might be in and out of the team. He's allowed to be inconsistent. I agree with that, right? Rashford, you're not a young player, mate. You're not. You're 25, 26. The British media still,
and you were given
makes
that time.
you like you're a kid.
And you were
you're
given
not a
that
kid.
time.
You have
were
like
given
over
that time.
50 appearances or 30 appearances for
You started
England.
playing under Van Gaal.
You're not a kid. So and the criticism you can take it. It's not like we're criticizing Maino, right? Kobe Maino is 18, 19. He's a teenager. However, for me, when you're a Manchester United player that has managed to make it in the first team, even if you're Kobe Maino, the expectation, I'm sorry, it's high. Yeah. We expect you to hit the ground.
Yeah,
it is.
But
hey,
is
that's
it realistic?
The curse.
I don't think it's fair.
But that's the curse of playing for Manchester.
No, okay.
You want to look
can
at
I just
it.
touch
I'll
on
have
the
a
top
follow-up
four?
question, but touch on the top four,
because you said that it's not up. The top four is not up to the players. It's up to the manager. The manager has assembled the squad. He spent the money.
Mm-hmm.
You can't spend 500 million in 2 years and say you can't deliver top four. Aston Villa in the top four. They haven't spent 500 million. So there's no excuse. And we can't spend
Watkins.
We can't spend 2 years outside of the Champions League. So if Ten Hag doesn't make top four, for me, he should go. There's no excuses.
And I don't think that's very harsh, because outside of top four, you're fighting against, like you say,
Aston Villa in the top four.
Let's predict our top four. It's City, it's Liverpool, it's Arsenal.
Mm-hmm.
City, Liverpool, Arsenal, and then who are we competing against? Tottenham.
Then it's Tottenham, Aston Villa, Newcastle,
West Ham,
Chelsea, maybe.
West Ham, no. Chelsea.
If they get their act together, who knows what they can get? Because I think they've got the players. They just don't have a system. They're just all over the place.
No, they've got the players, but I don't think they've got the consistency.
100%. But that's a management thing. But anyway, we're not on Chelsea.
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing, my follow-up question, and I like the things that you guys have mentioned. All I'm saying is, we have this thing of always comparing players. Just to drive the point home, we've got Ahmad. City has Doku. You guys saying Ahmad is better than Doku. you know.
No,
Ahmad
not
needs a
right now.
consistent run on the
But
team,
Doku's not a world beater in my opinion. But if of course I hear what you're trying to say.
You get what I'm saying? Okay,
City
if we
has Foden,
have
Haaland,
Foden,
Kevin De
thank
Bruyne.
you.
They've got world class
Is
players.
that even matched? And I know
they
it's
have
a very-
world class
it's-
players.
yeah.
I agree with you.
And
They've
then
got
let's
world
leave
class
City.
players.
And then let's leave City. Let's go to Arsenal. They've got Saka. They've got Martinelli. We've got Ahmad. We've got Garnacho. Can we compete with that?
I think we can. I think Arsenal, I don't look at them
At the
and look
level
at
of
their-
experience, at
I
the
don't,
level
I
of
don't look at
intensity.
Arsenal's
look
squad,
at
Saka,
Saka
and
as
I'm,
world
and I'm
class for me,
envious. I
right?
think Saka is the only one. They
I
have Gabriel
disagree.
Jesus. I don't think he's great.
We have Hoyland.
I don't think Martinelli is. I think
But I think Gabriel Jesus scored less goals than
and
Haaland
Hoyland
last season.
But he had injuries as well.
No, stop making excuses.
No,
for him.
okay, it's
Stop
fine.
making
I
excuses for
won't
him.
get to
What
that.
I'm saying
Yeah.
is, when you look at City, we can't touch them, right? In quality.
And that's why I'm saying
player
let's
for
leave
player.
them.
But Arsenal, Rashford should be better than Martinelli. I don't think at his best. It's
Yeah,
not even a
at his
debate.
best,
That's the
Rashford
problem.
is best.
That's
so
a fair point.
Arsenal, I don't see them as.
But I'm looking things
Arsenal
within.
Arsenal
look,
just
wait,
have a
I mean,
better manager. That's what it is.
True, but I'm just looking things based on practicality. Rashford is not working. That's what's happening right now, right? So now we take Rashford out the picture. We've tried.
But
so all I'm trying to get
I think I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
You're saying
I'm just trying to get to
like for players, right?
Yeah.
Look. I think I agree with Sihle. Like for players, apart from Saka, Odegaard, ne? Saka, Odegaard,
And maybe
and
Rice as
maybe
number 6.
Saliba and Rice as their number 6. Those 4 players,
White?
I think, no.
Nah.
Like I think
We
when
have
Luke
Mazraoui.
Shaw,
I'm
if
happy
Luke Shaw,
with
for example,
Mazraoui
is fit
and White.
and Mazraoui is fit and Dalo is fit,
Yeah.
I don't envy them that they've
Rice?
got Ben White. Rice, I
Rice,
do,
yeah, 'cause we
because
have
Rice is
Casemiro
better than Casemiro
right now.
And
so yes,
Maino?
I do.
So who do you take? Rice, Maino?
No, Rice.
No.
Is
Rice,
a
I would
six,
say
so.
Rice is a 6.
Okay,
Kobe Mainoo
so
is
yeah,
more of an
yeah.
8. So Rice
then they
and
play
Casemiro,
Thomas
I take
Partey
Rice.
as
Thomas
an eight.
Partey.
I take Mainu.
I'll take
instead
Mainoo
of
over Thomas
Partey.
Partey. I'm sorry.
No.
I'll take Kobe
for a
Mainoo.
guy to get you top 4. You'll take Kobe Maino over
Yes,
Thomas
because
Partey.
Partey is also
yeah.
always injured.
Look, I've okay.
So I'm saying I get what you're saying.
So all I'm-
but don't get
But when it
don't get
comes
me
to
wrong.
Arsenal,
Is
it's not
Arsenal
a
squad?
player.
Is Arsenal
it's more
squad?
of a manager thing.
No, I
they have
think
a
it's
better
I
manager.
think also
But
okay.
they've got a better squad as well.
manager.
They
They've
do
got
have
a
a better
better
squad.
Thank
They do.
you.
No.
That's
I'm
what I'm
not-
trying
I'm not
to
saying
get
they
to.
don't have a better
They've got a
squad.
better
I
squad than us.
disagree. I
Fine.
think the squads are closer than what you think. The issue we have is they have a manager who knows exactly what he wants to do. We don't. That's the
I think
biggest
that's okay.
difference.
Fair point.
Because
fair point.
even you look at this guy, he signed the players he signed. Even when he signed Kai Havertz, we were thinking, why is he signing Kai Havertz? He knew exactly how he's going to play
Fair
him
play.
and how is he going to work.
Fair play.
Ten Hag is signing players that he's working
Mason
it out
Mount, he has
when
no
they
plan.
Yeah,
come
it is
through.
work. Okay,
Yeah.
So
I think that's a fair point.
Arteta, Ten Hag, Arteta is better. That's why Arsenal are doing better. City and Ten Hag, obviously Guardiola is better, but he's got a better squad as well.
Yeah.
But with Arsenal, I don't. You look at Tottenham as
Liverpool?
well. You look at Liverpool have a better squad. That I agree. Salah and these guys,
Which was
they are better.
why the reason
But
why we lost as well.
You spoke about your top 4 as Arsenal or City, Liverpool, and Arsenal, right? The fourth one, the teams we are competing
contentious,
against
yeah.
are teams we should be beating.
But we're not.
Okay, so Aston Villa, we should beat
Aston
you, right?
Villa.
I think it's a very tough
and also
one.
Aston Villa, if you
They've
look
got
at
because I feel Unai
He's a good
Emery
manager.
is
He's a very good manager.
But
he's proving it that he's
very good
better than
manager.
Ten Hag under the
Yeah, he is.
which I feel we've got a better
He
squad
is.
than them there.
He is.
I do agree. We've
But
got a
also,
better squad.
if you look at it this way, right? We play Southampton today. We play Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
We play Spurs. We play Aston Villa away. So it's
Can I just
it's-
pause you
it's-
there?
It's 3
Are we
away
done with the
games.
Liverpool one?
Yeah.
So let's move on to that next
yeah.
segment. Now we're about to close off. We are touching on our score prediction, our view on the next matches, which is Southampton, Crystal Palace. Do you want to add a third
Yeah,
one?
so it's Tottenham. So let's look at the Premier League because I think we have Barnsley in the
Barnsley in the
Carabao
Carabao
Cup. I don't
Cup
think
in
that's
between.
that's
All
really
right.
important.
So we'll start off
So
with
let's look
with
at we
Southampton.
have Southampton today.
Mhm.
I think we'll win, but it's going to be a hard watch and probably not convincing. Maybe I'm jinxing it and we'll
Lineup predictions. Lineup predictions.
I think the lineup is out already. So
Okay.
he's playing De Ligt, or Onana, De Ligt, Martinez, Mazraoui, and Dalot, and then he's playing Eriksen, interestingly, and Mainu, and then he's playing
Bruno's not playing.
Rashford, Bruno.
Casemiro's dropped.
Casemiro is dropped for Eriksen.
And this is
okay.
this is the hypocrisy. Sorry, Sidley. This is the hypocrisy that I want to address because I agree with him. Casemiro had a shocker last match, but that energy, keep it for other players as well. There's other players
True.
who are immune to being dropped because when another player doesn't perform and it creates an irritation amongst the squad because I can see as a player that I'm better than Nkululeko, but he's not getting benched, and I'm training hard as hell. That means there's favoritism here, right? And it interrupts the harmony of the team. So I have no issue with him dropping Casemiro, but I feel like now you're scapegoating him because he was not the only one.
Seems
by
like
the
an
way,
emotional decision as well.
he was not the only one that put up a stinker. The whole team was terrible.
But I think let's just predict the next fixtures, right? So for me, I think we'll beat Southampton. I don't see us beating Crystal Palace, which is the problem because these are the teams
you
that
want to
we
make
should,
top 4.
That's why we're not going to make top 4.
Yeah.
I think we'll beat Tottenham at home.
Yeah.
I think we'll lose to Aston Villa. So that's 2 wins and 2 losses that I'm predicting. So that's going to be
that's already 4 losses.
Exactly. So if you look at it in the context of what happened last season, that's why Ten Hag will get sacked in my prediction.
Okay, so that was Southampton. You've touched on what is yours?
So I think I agree with Tihle. Southampton probably a scrappy win.
Yeah.
So we're gonna win Southampton today. We're going to. I hope I'm not jinxing it. We're going to win. I think we're gonna win at Crystal Palace. I think Crystal Palace has some vulnerability. They've got good play. They've got Eze, which is a good player, but overall, I think we will.
Our away
have
form
enough.
is a problem.
Our away form is a problem. I
So
think
is
Ten
that
Hag,
why you're saying we're going to lose against Crystal Palace?
That's why, because we are
We
away.
lost
Because we
4-0
are way
last year
too.
to Palace.
Yeah, we lost 4-0 away
So-
last year to Palace.
Guys, we can't lose to Crystal Palace. Where's
So-
Crystal Palace on the log right now?
I don't know.
I don't know where they
they're
are,
in the
but they're
bottom half, 'cause
in the
lost
bottom half. They lost the 2
Because
one or
you
two
lose to
games.
Crystal Palace, then top 4. Say goodbye
No,
to
top
top
4
4.
is already
But-
goodbye.
but look at my-
unless we sack Ten Hag.
But the difference in my predictions, we're going to beat Southampton. I think we're going to beat Crystal Palace. I think we're going to draw Tottenham at home. I don't think we're going to beat Tottenham at home. I think we're going to
Tottenham
draw
play the
Tottenham
way
at
we
home.
want to play.
And then we're going to.
We might be surprised with the Tottenham game.
I think we'll beat Tottenham.
You think so?
Might
So
be
that'll be
surprised.
my prediction.
Because what I've noticed with Tottenham is
But they're not as good as they were last
they're
season.
not as good as the way they were last season. And I noticed when Madison doesn't play, things just fall apart there.
Yeah. Because also then they rely on Son, Kulusevski, and Madison. So
So
if
if
those
you
3
already
players are
know
not
that-
firing,
And even if they are playing,
they're not that good.
Tottenham are predictable in their style of play. So you should already have an idea of, okay, this is how they're going to
But
play
they
based on what
played
they've
us off
got.
the park last year at Old Trafford.
They
so-
did. They did. But you see,
you
we
can't
had
underestimate
a lot of things that affected us. Was a lot of politics, a lot of noise. We were just also trying to. There's a lot of noise off the field that is happening that affected us.
But this
and I think
season-
now
this
it's
season
getting
we don't
cleaned
want
up. There's
any
no excuses.
There are no excuses.
No
this year.
excuses. We know noise. We need to make proper signings. No more commercial signings. The noise is now. Let's get to football. Let's get to football. Let's get things right. I think we can conclude, guys. My score predictions for today. I feel we'll win today.
2-1, yeah, for me.
I think we'll win 2-1 against Southampton.
I'll say 2-0.
2-0.
2-0.
Yeah, because worst case scenario, a draw where we just
No,
watch.
no,
That's not a
not
worst
even-
case
it's a-
scenario.
it's a
That's
disaster.
a disaster.
Because
No, but a disaster, yeah.
Southampton are 20th, so there's no excuses.
Yeah. No, I'm
There
not
has to
making
be a win.
excuses. I'm just saying if things like we're saying like it's a really bad day at the office because you just don't know what
but
can
the thing
happen.
is we can't afford to have those bad days at the office.
We
because
already had
of-
2 already.
We already had
The
two
first
bad
3 games.
two bad games.
Yeah.
We've lost 2 games. It's out of 3.
Yeah.
Ten Hag has made a slow start for the 3rd season running.
Yeah.
Because when we think about it, he always starts slow,
We
right?
lost 4-0 to
And in the
Brentford
Premier
in the
League, you
first.
can't afford that because you need to hit the ground running.
Yeah.
Because other teams already City's already like 7 points, 8 points
9
ahead
points
of you,
ahead,
9
yeah.
points ahead of you without even doing anything.
Yeah.
It's over.
Yeah. Okay. We're concluding. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. The mood is very down today, guys. So please, let's and we see the comments. We were going to touch on the social media stuff. I think we can do it in the next episode. Where we can just try to see from this episode. Please continue. A lot of people are watching and viewing, but in terms of our YouTube channel, please follow us because we can see this
Please
engagement.
like and subscribe.
Like, share, comment, and we like the comments as well. Very funny comments. But I think we should leave a segment where we go into a little bit of detail on that. Final words, gents.
Look, Yes, we optimistic. We are diehard United fans. So even though it's not going the way we would like it to go, we're still optimistic for the season.
Yeah.
Even if top four is looking very bleak, there is other ways we can maneuver. In you call it umdubo. we will go through other means. If we
Just
can,
scrape
I
through it.
think
We just want to scrape through it.
if we can win the Europa League, I think it'll be a good season. If I think my prediction will be top six. And we'll be lucky to get top six, by the way.
Yeah.
So top six.
But with the injuries
if
we
we
have,
can get top six, if we can get top six and win the Europa League, yes, it's not a great season, but Europa League is flipping hard to win.
And
So
it gives you Champions
and
League
it gives you
football.
Champions League. So you have a trophy and you've got a Champions League. I'll
guys,
take that.
we're suffering from injuries. So anyway,
My final word is
words.
we have the wrong manager, and as long as he's in place, we're not gonna go anywhere. So
Yeah.
the sooner we change him, the better.
My final words. Hey man, just comment on the section and just make your comments on the comment sections. Would love to hear your own opinion. We close it off.